sweet on Christian Cage, if you know what I mean.
The AEW Women's Champion, Thunder Rosa.
Nobody is on my level.
The TBS champion.
Nobody better in the world than Cisco Khan.
I want you to fire me, you.
Alright, hello everybody and welcome to this week's AEW Dynamite review show. We are here with Ashley Mann. And Ashley, how you doing?
Doing fabulous. How are you, Mimi?
I'm good. I'm happy to have you back. I'm happy to be reviewing the show. And yeah, and we're a lot of like TV specials lately. We had Road Rager, we had Fighter Fest, now we have Fight for the Fallen. And I think I don't know, if between Fighter Fest and this, I've been really I'm just glad. I feel like we're picking back up. I felt like there was a little bit of a lull there for a while, and I feel like we're back on track here. So I'm excited leading to, is it All Out or All In that's coming up next?
All Out.
All Out. And, you know, that was like the best
Out.
pay-per-view of the year for me last year, so I don't think they're going to top that. But, you know, with the debut of Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole and CM Punk's first match, you're probably not going to top that. But definitely exciting nonetheless. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts about the show, and we won't waste any time. We'll just jump right into it, and we'll talk about that first match, which was, surprisingly enough, the AEW Interim World Title match. And I didn't get to ask you, before we even get into the match itself, what did you think about Jon Moxley, you know, being the new Interim World Champion?
I think out of all the options that they had, all the injuries set aside, I think he, probably for that matter, even injuries, you know, even if a lot of the people that you had were still on board, like Omegas and Coles and things like that, I probably still would have gone with Moxley as your interim champ as well. The build up to it, those couple weeks with those matches and the Battle Royal, whatever they called it, I probably would have done a little bit differently, but Moxley is pretty much the like ideal champion in my opinion. I think it's going to make for a stellar Punk versus Moxley match when Punk is ready to come back. So I think in that regard, it was a win-win, and they got super lucky that Moxley was able to come back when he did from, you know, being out earlier in the year. So I think in that regard, it worked out perfect.
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird that they had the Battle Royale and it was like whoever wins is facing Moxley, and I don't even think he was the number one ranked. It was Wardlow who was number one ranked, and he was like, well, I don't want the title match, I want the TNT. It was weird. It was very contrived and odd, but yeah, we're here now, and anyways. And yeah, this match was hard hitting against Rush, and obviously with Jose the assistant by his side. I thought this was scrappy overall. This was like, you know, obviously starting off beating him up before the bell, and then they just beat the crap out of each other, and Jon Moxley ended up getting the win with the Bulldog choke and a really cool transitions at the end. So I wasn't like super high on this. This was not my favorite match of the night by any means. I've seen a lot of people who really, really enjoyed this. I don't know if it's the style that isn't for me, just subjectively, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you as well. I think a lot of people were just craving over this because it was Rush's best match in AEW. Granted, he hasn't really been here long at all, but this was like a good showcasing for him, I guess, in that respect. I was able to see him versus Dragon Lee at the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, that was a great match.
Yeah, so that was really good. So that kind of like really opened my eyes to him as well. But in this match, I don't know. I think it served its purpose as well as kind of like what you were saying. I was kind of surprised too that they opened the show with this match. I was kind of expecting this to be the main event, but I don't know. It kind of, like I said, served its purpose. And I really liked the angle that it kind of set up afterwards, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a second. But I don't know. Like, I wasn't crazy over this match. I just felt like it was okay. You know, it was what it was. Yeah. And seeing the review, I'm sorry to cut you off. Like, when people were just kind of like raving as much as they were, I was just kind of like, man, like, I kind of want to go back and rewatch it. Like, maybe I wasn't, you know, didn't give it as much focus as I should have. But I don't know. Like, I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was stellar.
Yeah, I would have put it the main event as well. I probably would have started the show off with Bryan Danielson returning and all that stuff too. But though I guess that Bryan Danielson match did deserve the main event in the end. I enjoyed that match way more than this one. But yeah, I don't. You know, sometimes people, like, again, all wrestling and all art and all that stuff is all subjective. So like sometimes you're just not gonna like stuff that a lot of people like, and sometimes you're gonna love stuff that a lot of people hate. And I think that was just the case on this for me. I thought, don't get me wrong, I was entertained, but obviously
sure.
These guys are beating the crap out of each other. It's like, you know, I always want to mention that, like, you know, they're putting their bodies on the line for our entertainment, but like, Yeah, I didn't. I think Jon Moxley has been on a roll, probably wrestler of the year almost. But and I love this new style, like this urgency he's wrestling with too. It's really like all the submissions, all that stuff. It's almost like he's going for the win right away, and I really do enjoy that too. But I just this for me, Roosh isn't it for me so far. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what new he brings to the table that somebody else in the on the roster doesn't already, like an Andrade or somebody like that. I don't. To me, the signing seemed a little bit weird, but there's probably a lot more Roosh matches to go back and watch. I see this match and like you watch a Will Ospreay match, like your first Will Ospreay match, pick any match, and you're like, I'm gonna go watch more of this guy. Like this is this guy's got a lot of talent. Like I watched. Will Ospreay versus Ricochet, which is like the infamous whatever gymnastics thing. But I watched it and I was like, I want to see more of this guy. I watched him versus Walter after that, and like I found an urgency to go seek out more Will Ospreay when I saw a Will Ospreay match. I didn't feel that way with Roosh here, so I felt a little bit more, like you said, at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. And before we go into what happened at the end of this segment or whatever, with Jericho and all, I want to ask you, I guess, real quick, what were your thoughts on the whole Death Before Dishonor? I love that name, Death Before Dishonor.
I know. Yeah, I really enjoyed the pay-per-view. I started it a little bit late after the show itself started live. But I think that like just something about watching like a pay-per-view kind of live or even a little bit on delay kind of just adds to it as well, like that excitement factor. But I think it was a good pay-per-view, and I think the buy report came out, and I think they said it was like around 36,000 buys or something like that. And if that's the case, then that's really good for Ring of Honor. That's a good sign going forward. I'm sure you've heard about some controversies coming out after that, which we won't get into today. But I thought it was a really good match, or a really good pay-per-view itself. I think the follow-up is kind of key, right? Because you can put on a good 4 pay-per-views a year, but if you don't have the shows in between, especially for titles like your TV championship, like the only time we've seen Samoa Joe lately is on the pay-per-view itself. So I don't know, like unless there's like an injury that's going on with him that he's just has a limited schedule. I don't know. The only thing I've kind of heard is just like his acting thing or whatever. But anyway, I just think the main thing is with Ring of Honor right now is just follow up and what Tony Khan is able to do, like whether it's like a TV deal or just like a streaming thing on YouTube or whatever he's going to do. I think that's going to be the main thing for them going forward. But I mean, the pay-per-view itself, it was just phenomenal. I think that FTR Briscoes match is just, God, like that was worth the money itself.
Yeah, I actually fell asleep before the match, and I was so upset, and I haven't had the time to go back and watch it, but I've heard great things. I think that first match is a lot to live up to. But yeah, I enjoyed the pay-per-view overall, too, for what I got to see, most of it at least. I love the Serena Deeb Mercedes Martinez match. Like, that was probably my favorite match of the night, because I just love watching Serena Deeb do what Serena Deeb does. I was so heartbroken when she lost, but which is so funny, because what does that title really mean? What do any of those titles really mean? Nothing, like you said, when there's no follow-up to it. But I think they should just get this on a YouTube show or something, because I'd like to see more of all these guys purely in just Ring of Honor, similar to like an NXT where it's like its own little world in a way. And I think some kind of YouTube show or something would, it wouldn't make it must-watch TV, but it would definitely at least give you an excuse to like be able to build storylines and show you what's going on in Ring of Honor. They could do little recaps on Dynamite and stuff like that. So I don't know. That world title match though, it needed, 15 more minutes for me, 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes even. Yeah. But other than that, it was a good show overall. So, all right, what happened after this? We had Jericho come out with most of the JAS and basically challenged Moxley for a world title match, said he's on a roll, all that stuff, beating Eddie Kingston. He looked banged up for sure. And I guess that's what happens when you have a barbed wire everywhere match. But Moxley just starts off by saying, I love it. He goes, I hate you, Jericho. And yeah, so we're leading to, what was it called again? Like Quake at the Lake or Wake?
Quake by the Lake.
Quake by the
Which
Lake.
makes no sense because, there's like no lakes in Minneapolis, which is where they're going, so.
Okay, well, there we go. Good, I would have never known that because I'm terrible at geography, but yeah. They fooled me nonetheless. But yeah, so whatever the heck that means.
Or rather, there's no earthquakes, so it's just like, it's just one of those things that there's just, it's just like, just pick a word that kind of rhymes with lake. And they went with earthquake and there's like no like real earthquake. So I don't know, like it's one of those things. I mean, credit for trying to be cute, I guess, but
Yeah, a lot of
doesn't
TV
make sense.
specials lately. But so in 2
Yeah.
weeks, that's what we're going with. And you know, for me, the Eddie Kingston Jericho match was a really big disappointment. It sucks because you see these guys like literally going through barbed wire, like cutting their bodies open, all that stuff. But like the finish to the match, the contrived, all of that stuff was just so like not the time for that, in my opinion. Like it was time for Eddie Kingston to just get a win. So as much as I enjoyed this segment, it was a little bit sweet and sour because, like, I thought Moxley was great. I thought Jericho was great. I think Cool Hand Ange is one of the greatest things that ever happened to AEW with his comb and all that stuff. But miss Matt Menard this week. Missed that guy. He's great. Yeah, we only got to hear his voice on that thing. But yeah, I it was just bittersweet for me because I like where they're going with this. I think Chris Jericho is a great interim, challenger for the interim title. But I just think that the way we got here isn't so bueno. But what did you think about the after the match segment?
Yeah, I didn't even, now that you mention it, I'm thinking back, yeah, Matt wasn't there, Matt Menard, it's crazy, like, I didn't even realize it at first, but now that you mention that, it's like, gosh, it is kind of glaring thinking about it, weird, but, I really loved, like you mentioned, I loved what Moxley said. I just love Moxley's promos, and part of me doesn't even feel right calling them promos because it feels like he just feels real. Like it just feels like he's just legit just saying what he himself would say, So for him, that's kind of why I'm really enjoying him as the interim champion right now. And I love that he even addressed the interim part and it pretty much said, like, just call him the champion. I really like that because it made me this probably wasn't their intent, but it reminded me of what Wardlow said. The reason that he didn't want to fight in the Battle Royal or whatever was because he didn't want to go for the interim championship, and because he wanted to fight CM Punk directly. When it's like, dude, like that's exactly what you're setting yourself up for. But
yeah,
whatever. But I love that he mentioned that. It was just like a little thing to me that stood out. And like you mentioned with Jericho being the next challenger for Moxley going forward, I think it's just perfect. It makes logical sense. They have history there. I kind of wish we could have gotten a little bit more time just to kind of see the new layer of their story play out, because I believe their first feud, wasn't it during a time of, it was like during the pandemic or something like that, or
I think it was right before the pandemic
or right before. Yes, you're right. I don't know, like to me, like I think that they just kind of left a lot on the table, and I feel like, especially with it being a title feud, like I would love to see them get like a little bit more time, but I get, it is just the interim championship, and the focus really isn't really on either of them, to be honest. It's going to be on CM Punk whenever Punk returns. So, I guess we're just, I get we're just filling time, but I don't know. I love this story, and I love Jericho in this role. But I hate to be this person. But what do you think about Anna Jay really quick before we move on, and her heel turn and her first promo here last night?
That promo was awful. I was like, and you and I'm going to choke you out and you. Oh my gosh, it was there. I mean, I guess she's supposed to be annoying, but to me, there's a difference between like Sammy Guevara is annoying, right?
Yeah.
But like he's good at being annoying. Like he's the just right amount of annoying. I think there's like the screaming female wrestler or whatever has never got me. It's like reminded me of like Carmella. And I love Carmella.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I'm like a Carmella apologist, but like, I like it was one of the worst of that to me. It just didn't hit. And I do like, though, like you said, I like what he mentioned about the interim championship, and I do like that Chris Jericho loves his like multiple personalities, you know what I mean? So the fact that we're getting quote unquote the Lionheart is what it sounds like.
Yes.
I'm about that, but leaving the wizard hat at home for a day. But yeah, no, I was not a fan of the Anna Jay thing. I think it's sad that Ty Conti's been relegated to a valet, when they probably really need their reps. That's why I was really hoping Serena, not to go on a complete tangent, but that's why I was hoping Serena Deeb was going to win the Ring of Honor title, because I was hoping they were just going to have challenges on Dark like Mercedes Martinez has been doing, and these women could just learn from the best there is, really. But yeah, no, it was not for me.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better myself. But I will just add on, since you brought up Ty Conti as well, I don't really get the heel turn for Anna Jay. It's not like they're doing like a couples thing and Jungle Boy's joining, or they're acknowledging that on screen or anything like that. And especially since we'll obviously get into Jungle Boy later on, but she just kind of like, to me, it's just like an awkward pairing isn't the right word,
Did
obviously,
she
but like
lose
just
the match before? Like, didn't she lost the match, didn't she? And then she turned. Is that what happened?
I'm
I can't
pretty
remember
sure
who she faced.
I don't either. I don't either. It just really came out of nowhere to me. And I don't know. She just kind of feels like the third wheel, and especially when it comes to Sammy and Ty, but like in the group as well. It's just I don't know. Like I'm willing to give it time to see it play out, and this is just the first week, but I don't know. It just felt kind of forced and just like really out of place to me.
Yeah, I'm all about putting women in factions too, and I think that's always great. Like I was a proponent of putting someone like Layla Hirsch in Team Taz or something like that. By the way, where is she? Is she
Right.
injured?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
I don't know.
But not to go on a complete other tangent, but let's talk about the trios titles because that's what was announced next. And I was like almost gonna sit down if I had the time and just like completely book out an entire trios titles tournament because as much as we have been overloaded with titles, and I think we don't need any more title belts, we have way too many already in AEW. And now it looks like they're going with women tag team titles too, as that's like slowly creeping up in the background. With all these women's tag team being formed and then broken up already, apparently. But yeah, trios titles is something we've been longing for a long time, or at least I know I have. And I'm gonna put you on the spot of who you think or who you would like to win the trios titles, be the first inaugural or not. I can never say that word. First trios title champions.
To me, it's a toss up, and I think it really factors or hinders on if Kenny Omega is going to be back in time and what the tournament is going to look like. If we just go back with the Young Bucks partnering up with like a Hangman Page or something like that, then I would want the House of Black to be the inaugural champions. I just feel like Malachi Black needs something, and I think they really, especially recently, put a lot into Brody King, and of course this, I guess, hinges too on if Buddy Matthews is able to come back. I think I heard somewhere he's in Australia right now. I don't know if it's like a work thing or I don't really know what's going on there. I'm not sure if you do either.
No,
but,
I was wondering where he was altogether. I thought he was injured maybe.
Yeah, I thought he was injured as well. And then I heard somewhere, I forget where I heard, it was just like maybe the other day that he was in Australia or something. I don't know. But whatever's going on with him, I guess, it obviously depends on if he'd be back as well. So I guess for me, my two picks depend on the third person being back. Because without them, I don't, and thinking back, and to me, I was kind of surprised that we got, or they were introduced this week rather. And also too, just the way they debuted the past two new championships, the trios titles, and then the Atlantic championship, by just like having like the next scene, the titles just sitting by the commentators, and it's just like, oh, like surprise, like here it is. I don't know, like to me, like if it should be more of a big deal, especially with an announcement of a tournament and all that, but not to go too long-winded here, but I feel like this is a sign that Kenny will be back because Tony Khan had mentioned that he was holding on to those titles and they've been made for quite some time now, and he was just waiting on Omega coming back. And I think obviously with All Out being in Chicago, I think this could be a sign that that's what's to come. So yeah, I think long story short, my initial pick would be Omega with the Young Bucks. Yeah, and I think maybe if not them, then House of Black. If not, I don't really know. Like, I guess you could go like maybe like, I don't want to say like an underdog pick, but like a Death Triangle. But I don't know, since you have Pac as the All Atlantic champion, I guess that kind of rules him out. So I don't know. I guess it's kind of up in the air. I haven't really put too much thought into it without really looking at like the roster and stuff. But those would be like my two early picks. Of course, like I said, depending on all three members of the team are back.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good trios there that like you said, but some of them that like almost just broke up, or some of them where there's somebody injured, or like you have the Undisputed Elite. You've got, like you said, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page. You've got Death Triangle. You've got Dark Order, and sadly not anymore. But you could have had maybe Hook, Ricky Starks, and Will Hobbs. That would have been good too. But yeah, no, I think you're right on the nose there about like I think we were waiting for Kenny Omega to come back, but I think you're right. It might be Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. That's not necessarily who I want to win, but I guess we can talk about it now that we're on the subject. That backstage segment with Hangman Page and the Dark Order and the Young Bucks and all that stuff. That was one of my favorite parts of the show. Such a great tease of like the awkward tension there. Like, oh, how you doing? I'm good. Happy birthday. Like the Young Bucks are terrible actors. I'll give them that. Like they are terrible actors. But this wasn't a bad segment at all. And I thought it was cute and I don't know, the Dark Order, you kind of can't turn the Dark Order heel, so I don't know exactly what they're going to do with that, or if we're going to have another Elite Dark Order feud. God knows, apparently that was not great. I don't even think I was watching AEW at the time, but I've just not heard good things about that. So, what were your thoughts on the segment there? I love that backstage segment.
Yeah, I'm right there with you again. And for me, I love whenever, like, the things that the backstage segments that the Young Bucks do, excuse me, I love how simple they are, yet how effective they normally always are. Now, obviously, you have ones that are better than others, but I love the simpleness of this, and it just made total sense, right? Because that's exactly what I would be in real life if I walked up on someone who I wasn't expecting to walk up on, and we had like an awkward pass, and things didn't really end well, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be hashed out. I would be awkward as you know what I mean? So it made sense to me, and it played into their characters very well. I love that the Dark Order came up and obviously interrupted things and didn't really read the room, right, when they just barged in on everything. And it obviously left a cliffhanger going forward. So I think to me it was super simple. I don't even know, like, the segment itself was probably, a couple minutes maybe at most. And I just think it really set up the stage for so much to come. So Young Bucks get a lot of crap for a lot of things, but I think that they don't get enough credit when it comes to, like, producing segments like that backstage. So I just loved, like you said, I loved everything about it.
Yeah, it was. It was really relatable. Something that's not so relatable is Danhausen, which was absolute Ricky Starks versus Danhausen next for the FTW title. I guess we'll break this up into little segments, but it was a quick match. Ricky Starks basically, squashing Danhausen real quick. Just a couple of roll-ups here and there for near falls, but for the most part, it was Ricky Starks beating up Danhausen without a problem. Any thoughts on the Danhausen match? Or I don't even know your thoughts on Danhausen as a whole. I don't think we've had a chance to talk about him either. Some people really love him. Some people really hate him. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't care as much. I think he's funny, and I think this is a perfect role for him. I don't think you're going to put the world title on him, but, you need guys like this who are so over. So I think he's playing the role of, like, pretty Peter Avalon, essentially, but better.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I'm kind of there in the middle. I can appreciate his character, and I appreciate that no one really takes him that seriously as a wrestler. And to be honest, like, prior to his exposure in AEW, or at least like when Ring of Honor ended, and the speculation like when he was out with his knee injury, or AEW was going to hire him and all that stuff, I really was kind of new to him. So I saw a few things, and I really I guess wrestling still isn't really his thing, because I didn't really find that many matches on him. So if anyone out there is listening and you have like a favorite Danhausen match, please direct me in that direction.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that too.
Yeah, like I can appreciate it for the character aspect, because that's what wrestling is too, right? Wrestling is character, so I can appreciate it for in that respect. And like you said, I think this match was what it was. Like, he shouldn't go 5, 10, 15 minutes with a Ricky Starks in an actual competitive match, unless that's the direction that they're going to want to go in with Danhausen going forward, which I don't see happening. So yeah, it was what it was, and it obviously just was there to kind of set up the segment thereafter.
Yeah. Ricky Starks saying, very, very nice, very evil, but you are not absolute, and takes another challenge, and then huge pop for Hook's music. Hook comes out, takes on the challenge, and this was another really quick match, but I thought this was worlds beyond that match. The flip out of the arm drag was awesome, and another huge pop for that one. And Hook is your new FTW champion, getting the tap out with the red rum, like a standing red rum. I thought, for myself, I'm on the Hook train. I think Hook is awesome. I think he's the handsome devil, whatever. Like, I think he's a huge star. I think they mess him up a lot with, like, these weird backstage segments that I think are stupid, but when he's in the ring, he is no joke. He's got a lot to learn still, obviously, but whatever he doesn't know how to do yet, they mask it really well, and they masked it here really well, I thought, again. And it's probably right with the orange trunks, obviously, that Hook's going to win the FTW championship and carry on his dad's legacy like that. I think the FTW title as a whole is kind of silly, but and they say they don't recognize it as a title, but if you go on the AEW website, it has it in the title. So I don't know exactly.
And wasn't
what's
it
up with
defended at Battle of the Belts as well?
yeah, well, because they don't care about Battle of the Belts, so they just find like the titles they don't care about to defend on
Right.
that. But yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it's not recognized, but it's recognized. So I don't really understand. I don't understand it much, but I did really like this match. I liked Hook as a whole, and you know what? We'll merge this all together because we got a great promo from Ricky Starks afterwards, talking about turning like a belt into gold, and or taking leather and metal and turning it into gold, and that it is his time now. He's not the he's not the future. He's the present. And then boom, out of nowhere, Powerhouse Hobbs clotheslining Ricky Starks from behind and hitting him with a spine buster. We had the turn. They're broken up. I was heartbroken by this. What did you think of the match and the turn at the end?
I was a big fan of Hook winning the title itself and the whole moment and everything that it means and just everything. Like if you obviously know Taz and the history there, it's just a cool moment, right? And I was low key, like part of me was expecting Hook to maybe like walk over to the commentator's booth really quick and just do like a fist bump or something to Taz or just some type of acknowledgement at least there. But he didn't. He just played it. Yeah. He just played it cool and acted normal. So props, and I can respect that. I thought if any time it was going to be like if they were going to acknowledge it on TV or like they were going to do that. I mean, not that they haven't acknowledged it. Obviously, they talk about it all the time. But Hook rather acknowledging, and just having that moment. But he doesn't, and I kind of like that too, how he just completely ignores and acts like Taz isn't even out there like every time we see him. It's just kind of funny to me, but I'm a huge fan of Hook myself as well, and the moment itself. But I'm kind of ready to see a full length match from him. Like I want to see like an actual like competitive match. I'm kind of ready to see him climb up the ranks slowly. I mean, I'm not saying he's ready for like a TNT title shot or and obviously not a heavyweight championship match or you're still light years away from that. But I think I'm just kind of ready to see him more in a more competitive match. Not saying he needs to go forward and defend the FT title because I think now that he won it, I think he should retire it. I think whether you want to still show him if he's backstage holding it or whatever, but I don't think anyone else should really win it from him. I don't think that it really needs to be defended at this point. I think the story is kind of like that Cinderella story, right? It's kind of like the best case scenarios. So just kind of wrap it up and be done with it, especially since they say they don't want to acknowledge it anyway. I, again, am right there with you. I was kind of heartbroken myself, and I was really shocked, with Hobbs turning on Ricky and obviously just that clothesline was just brutal. I love that it was just that one move, and then he just kind of like that snarky look, and then that was it, because Hobbs is just a thick and just beast of a man, right? So it's just that look and that face like is intimidating enough. So I give them props in that regard for not overdoing it, but like you, I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get a longer run with them, but I'm interested to see what this does for Team Taz going forward. I kind of hope that maybe if anything, Taz aligns with Hobbs, and is the mouthpiece for Hobbs, and Ricky can obviously speak for himself and just kind of does his own thing. But I love that Ricky is going to be a babyface now going forward, and I'm obviously a huge fan of his, so I'm just kind of ready for him to shine at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know where Taz is going to end up. You'd think with Hobbs, just because Ricky Starks is probably a little bit of a better talker, but at the same time on commentary, you heard Taz like, "What are you doing, Will?" So I don't know where we're going to end up there. But yes, I'm happy about the babyface turn as well. I worry about all these guys because, like you said, you want Hook to, have... I give Hook a feud, and then you want to have someone like Powerhouse Hobbs, you want to push him to the moon because he's incredible, great facials, all that stuff. Both guys still have a lot to learn, obviously, but and they're still super young. But like these are great wrestlers, and you want to protect them, for lack of a better term. But you also want to put them on TV, and you don't want them to just disappear from our minds, and you don't want another Brian Cage situation. So I think, Powerhouse Hobbs has 10 times the charisma that Brian Cage does. But I just wonder where they're going to go with all this after the feud. Like, I always think about what's next. What's next after the feud, that like the blow-off? Like, what do you do after you turn on the tag team partner and you guys have your feud? What do you do after that? And that's the defining feud for me, not always, like, the tag team partner. Like, I don't worry about Jungle Boy. After Jungle Boy and Christian Cage have their feud, like, Christian Cage is going to do whatever he's going to do, but Jungle Boy is going to be absolutely fine. I worry about Hobbs after this feud. So But next up, we had Dante Martin versus Sammy Guevara, and this was a spot fest of Spanish flies, backflips, cutters, all the like, and we had Dante hitting a Spanish fly on Sammy for a near fall, and then Sammy came out of nowhere with the cutter, and then followed up with the GTH, pinning Dante Martin. After the bell, Ty and Sammy, I always want to say Tay, Ty and Sammy continued to beat down, and then we had Sky Blue taking her sorry time coming in the ring. Like, they messed that up, I think, or something, because she was just standing outside in the ring while Dante Martin was getting beat up. But finally came in, and then Ruby Soho, Ortiz, and Eddie Kingston came out to make the save after the babyfaces were getting the beat down. A huge pop for Eddie Kingston and Ruby Soho and Ortiz, but mostly Eddie. You heard the Eddie chants and stuff like that. So I'm curious, what did you think about the match here, and what did you think about the after the match?
I mean, the match itself, how can you not like a match between them? And I think
it was fun.
And I think this match is just kind of one of those matches that we'll definitely see in 3-5 years from now, when these guys have some more experience, especially Dante, right? More just experience, especially like on promo. And I think the only thing that he's really missing is just connecting. I mean, in one way, in a lot of ways, rather, he does connect with the fans, but I think it's just that just something's missing. And I think it's just, give him time and we'll all find it, and, we'll all be connected as fans. And, I think that's the only thing that's missing with him, because dude is just insane in the ring. And I think to me, he's kind of like a young and still young talent wise. I mean, in regards to like a Will Ospreay, I think that he's kind of one of those guys where it doesn't really look like he's just doing like, okay, it's a spot here, a spot here, a spot here. He has a good way of, and kind of like a Ray Phoenix as well, or Phoenix, just tying everything together. And I think over time, like, he's just going to get better at that as well. So he's one of those where I'm not like crazy on him right now, but he's one of those where it's like, man, like, he's going to be like, probably not like the next big thing, but in like like the face of the company, but he's going to be like one of those upper card guys where it's believable. And, when he does face off for like a championship, like there is that chance where like kind of like a underdog, like Rey Mysterio type thing too. There's a chance where he could pull it off. So I'm trying to be a big Dante Martin fan. There's like just something else that I need to like really latch on. Sammy in the hero role, I'm really digging it. I just kind of wish that they would have stayed separate from JAS, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, I'm so happy you kind of briefly referenced the whole Sky Blue thing, because to me it was like, dude, like, you're out there, and I pretty certain they didn't like actually recognize that Sky Blue and Dante are in like an actual relationship. So even just like the partnership and just like the friendship, like, your sole purpose of being out there is to watch his back and to save him from being ganged up on 2-on-1. And like, you're standing there, and it's not like we can't even see her. Like, she's directly in our camera shot, like, just standing there watching him get pummeled and just beat up. And I'm just like, it takes Sammy going to the top rope for you then to come in and like finally like stand in his face. Like, to me, it was just like, yeah, like, obviously something was slightly off there, but I don't know, like, even if you're waiting on a cue, like, at some point, like, it was getting kind of awkward. It's like, girl, like, get in there. Like, even if like we're not acknowledging that's your man, like, that's your friend, like, get in there and help him. So I don't know. It was just kind of one of those things that was just kind of comical to me. It just really stood out. But yeah, like you said, Eddie Kingston is just stupid over. Like, I love all the love that Eddie gets every week. And it just kind of was what it was. But I'm a little surprised that they're even continuing on with the whole Eddie and JAS thing at this point.
I'm not surprised at all. I saw that one coming, I think, from a mile away. But I think they should have put the title on Eddie. I think that would have been a great story, and then CM Punk beating Eddie and being like, you just still can't hack it. But maybe they didn't want to go down the heel roll with that again, and turning Punk heel with Eddie Kingston maybe would have happened, or I don't know exactly what. But I think because he's so... And he doesn't have a lot of time left. Like, I hate to be that person, but like, he's not like a spring chicken. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's so... You want to strike while the iron's hot, and the iron is red hot right now with Eddie Kingston. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, the Sky Blue thing was weird. And for this match, like you said, like, there's just something, like, for me, the guys, they do these awesome flippy dippy things whenever, but like, two young guys, what they're missing is like the like the meat and potatoes are great, right? But you need something in between the meat and potatoes. Maybe a little rice, maybe a little asparagus, something to keep everything together.
Yes.
Like, and I was like, we were like missing the asparagus. We got the great.
I was
meat
about
and
to say
potatoes part.
asparagus too. Yeah.
Yes, it just missing the stuff that like tied the whole meal together, and I think really with the character of Dante Martin, he's just missing that exactly a character. Sammy Guevara is the prick heel with the floofy hair and a hot girlfriend and whatever else. Will Ospreay is the arrogant prick. You know what I mean? Dante Martin is just missing a character. When you're just the high flying guy, you're like a Ricochet. Like you could just do cool stuff in the ring. But what else are you really? What else more? And so that's like, I know what you're saying. You're trying to be a Dante Martin fan. Me too. But like, what can I really connect with there? Which isn't much. Or what can I be mad at? Or what can I, like make me feel something other than like the 5 minutes you're in the ring and you do a flip and it's cool. Like that's not always like gonna last. Like at least Rey Fenix even is like, he's probably closer to a Dante Martin in that sense, but at least you can connect. He's like a luchador, and you know what I mean? Like he's got
he makes
triangle.
you feel like he evokes emotion out of his match, like during the match
and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm missing is some kind of emotional connection to Dante Martin, and I couldn't agree more with you on that. So, but hopefully he gets there one day. And speaking of emotional connections with somebody, right? Jungle Boy's promo is next, and this is the best promo of Jungle Boy's career. Comes out and he just says, "Kristen Cage, you're the biggest you-know-what I've ever met in my entire life." And he talks about why he was mad because he got thrown out of the ring, and that, he missed his payday and he wanted his payday because he just got out of a divorce. Told Christian he had a tiny wiener. Like it was pretty. And then he was like, "Why do you think the divorce happened, you guys? Or why do you think his wife left him?" And like pretty like. I don't know what the word I'm looking for exactly, but like I just was sitting there like, good for you, Jungle Boy, you get yours. And Christian Cage backstage interrupting Jungle Boy, basically telling him he's going to put him in the ground next to his father. Whew. More, not controversial, but more touchy stuff in this. And then I thought a great Jungle Boy promo. What did you think about the segment?
Yeah, so part of me was kind of torn. So I really enjoyed, and I think this was what it needed to be promo wise from Jungle Boy. But part of me is like, okay, like where do we go like from here now with Jungle Boy? And I part of me even feels weird even calling him Jungle Boy at this point. And I know AEW still, obviously we're barely 3 years into it. But it's something like part of me feels like he's really grown, right? Like I just feel weird, and I'm not saying we should sit here and call him like Jungle Man going forward or anything like that. But it's like I don't really, if it's just what does JR call him? Jack Perry, or not Jack Perry, or is that what he calls him? Like Jungle Boy Perry. Jack Perry? Yeah. So I don't know. Like part of me just feels like with how personal Christian Cage got with what he said, obviously, in the weeks leading up to last night, promo from Jungle Boy. It's just, part of me feels like if once we were ready for that promo, something needed to change. And I, like you, like I loved the context of what he was saying, but little things, and I hate to be this person, but I can't help it. Like the times where he would pause and kind of like look to the fans for like reassurance or for like their reaction, like, dude, like the fire and the way that he started that promo with the fire and just like grabbing the microphone and like yelling, like I would have, not saying that he should have yelled throughout the entire promo, or if you were, like maybe not have it that long to begin with. Like to me, it was just it got to a point where it was just kind of like too, like not too cute, but like it was just like he was just kind of like waiting for the reaction in a lot of ways. But I loved what he said too, if that makes sense, because I feel like I'm kind of contradicting myself. But to me, like I kind of would have held off on this promo, right? Like to me, like I would have done something like, and again, call me crazy, please. Yeah, I'd love to hear like your side of this, and but part of me would have loved to have seen like them film something backstage, right? So for instance, like we all know Jungle Boy is going to be there, Christian was going to be there. Have Jungle Boy backstage, grab a camera guy, right, and drag him to where Christian Cage's dressing room is, because obviously Christian is this pompous guy, so of course he's gonna have his own locker room, and just barge into his locker room and just beat him up and just beat the crap out of him. Because to me, like if someone is saying all those things about my father, who's just like I think Jungle Boy's father, didn't he die like right at the beginning of when AEW started? Like it hasn't been that long. Recent. Yeah, it hasn't even been that long. I mean, granted, like that's a huge loss in the matter of the time that's passed, but like it's still very, very fresh, you know? So to me, like if you're saying all that stuff about like my deceased father, let alone like my mother, my sister and everything like that, like I'm not getting in the ring and cutting a promo on you this week. Like the second I can, like I'm going in there and beating the crap out of you. Like, yes, he tried to do that last week and he escaped or whatever, and I'm glad they addressed that. But like, dude, like I would have done it personally my way, and of course I'm probably biased, but because it buys you another week too. Because like, how do we follow up on it next week? Is my thing, especially if the idea is to drag this match out to All Out. I just think you would have bought yourself more time there, and I think you could have added a little bit more drama with Luchasaurus, because to me, like, I'm sorry, like, I don't trust him now. Like, he's still wearing the black gear. Like, I don't trust this Luchasaurus guy anymore now, Mimi. So, I don't know, like, maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but I liked the promo a lot, but I just feel like it was, I don't know. Tell me I'm crazy, Mimi.
Don't put my man Luchasaurus down, the man dinosaur. No, I know what you mean though. So I don't know. I like the black gear. Maybe other people really liked it too, and that's why he's still wearing it. But or like you said, he could be doing a turn later on as well, and maybe that's how they're gonna drag this out to more than one match. It's just my WWE brain though. But like I think I see what you're talking about. I could have seen, like, maybe when Christian came up on the big screen, Jungle Boy could have just ran backstage and tried to go attack him and then had the pull-apart brawl or something like that. Like I know what you mean. Like, he had a lot of fire, and then it was kind of cutesy for a little while. And I think I enjoyed the cutesy, and that's why I was okay with, like, this weird, not plot hole, but, like, for lack of a better term, that you wouldn't just go attack this guy who keeps saying all this stuff about your family. Instead, though I will say, I think, like, the way he got back at him was not physically, but was like he was getting back at him verbally at this point, and they're going to do the physical part later on. But so I think that's kind of where I see what you're saying, and then I counter it with, like, maybe for now it was just supposed to be a verbal sparring, and then they're going to do the actual physical stuff. They're trying to save that, because like you said, they got to get all the way to All Out. We still have a couple of weeks to get there, and but this is one of my, like, most highly anticipated feuds. I'm really excited for the match. I think Christian Cage is still very underrated in the ring, and I'm super excited for this going on. But I see what you're saying 100%.
Yeah, really quick, do you think Luchasaurus is really on Jungle Boy's side going forward, or do you think him and Christian, this is like a ploy on Jungle Boy still? Because I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much. I love the black gear too, like I really dig it, by the way. But part of me is like, and maybe it is just something simple, like you said, like it's just he just looks cool and he's just sticking with it. But like, part of me is like, okay, like in the future when he does go heel, like what else is he gonna wear? Because black is always the go-to, you know, for like your heel turn. So it's like, and I mean, obviously, I'm again probably reading too much into it. But what do you think about that?
I love when a heel wears white, like Seth Rollins or someone like that. Whereas I live for that. But I know what you mean. You know what? I could absolutely see that. Now that you think about it, like you say that, like AEW is a company that loves like dropping little hints and seeds and stuff, and that might be a seed that you're picking up on that I didn't pick up on at all. It was a whole weird thing there, like where Luchasaurus just went automatically back with Jungle Boy, and really Christian Cage didn't go that far in on him either. He just called him a lapdog. Like he could have called him a you know what, you know what I mean? Like, and it's their favorite word in wrestling, the B word. So like, so you know what? Now that you're saying it, I see it totally happening, and maybe that's how the first match ends. I think Luchasaurus. I liked the heel run, the brief heel run, so I'd kind of be all for it.
Yeah, because I mean, I know I'm not going to labor on this too long, but he was kind of a you know what to what was it, Matt Hardy, and who else did he beat up? Like, so it wasn't like Luchasaurus was just like has just been standing there and like didn't do anything, you know? Like he was kind of a bad guy, like a legit bad guy.
For that now, yeah,
and so you're just saying like or Jungle Boy like put him up to doing all that. So I don't know, like to me that's why I feel like there's got to be more to that. Or I'm just reading too much into it, but
I don't think you are at all. I'm excited to see what happens with that. What I'm not excited for is next week Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
But that's just, I don't mean to go two-footed on Matt Hardy, but stop putting Matt Hardy on my television when you have all of these amazing wrestlers. Even, like, there was this story that came out today about, like, Ethan Page, Brian Cage, Sonny Kiss all kind of complaining about not having television time, and then you're putting Matt Hardy on my television. Wow. It's so sick of that. They gotta stop. All right, next up we had Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling versus the Swerve Strickland. For some reason, Keith Lee banned from ringside. No one ever explained that. Like, why?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. Okay,
that made no sense to me, just for Angle's sake, because he obviously got attacked backstage by Josh Woods. I think it would have been better to have him out there and then have him get laid out in front of the crowd by Josh Woods. That would have made more sense as to why he would be banned from ringside. Makes no sense. But, yeah, this was a quick match, and Swerve doing Swerve things, and Tony Nese being, Tony Nese, who is incredible as well, and the accidental tag to Smart Mark Sterling, basically allowing Swerve to get the pinfall with that great kick to the back side of the head. Like, that's one of my favorite finishers right now.
Yes.
It's really good. And, yeah, so backstage, like I said, Keith Lee's laid out by Josh Woods, and Swerve is like, oh my god, runs back to try to get him, but gets clocked by Nese with the title in the back of the head. So this feud will continue. Why is Keith Lee banned from ringside? And this is where the tag titles are. That's what I got for you.
Yeah. I'm excuse me, not a fan of that. That this is where the tag team titles are. I'm not that I'm not a fan of who the champions are. It's just a kind of a cluster. But that's a whole other topic in and of itself. But yeah, the match was what it was. I hate to again be this person, but we have a full roster, and why Tony Nese? Like it's not that I love that he has a job, and I love that he's employed, and he's really, he's very good in the ring. He has a great look. Why? Like, why? So yeah, and Smart Mark Sterling, he's cool. Not that he's cool. He's fine. He serves his purpose, but I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's not like we have time to kill, right? It's not like AEW is a 3-hour show every week and we're just trying to fill time. So to me, like, when I see this, I'm like, okay, like, I don't hate it, and it's not going to sit here and make me, like, turn the channel or anything. But I'm just like, why? Like, I don't know. Like, and, like, I get the angle afterwards with Keith Lee being knocked out. I give no idea either why he was banned from ringside. But it did look like he was sleeping when when the camera first showed him. Like, it was just like, come on. Like, and nothing against Keith Lee. Those situations are just always awkward, right? Because like, whatever. It's just always an awkward situation.
The camera always lingers a little too long.
Yeah, there's just no good way out of that. So I always feel for everyone involved in that situation. But I'm intrigued by Josh Woods. I've seen a little bit of him going to especially like some of the dark tapings. I've seen him in person, and dude's the real deal. Like, he's very solid. He's a good technician in the ring. But again, I don't. Especially with your tag division in AEW, like, you have a stacked division there. So I don't know. Like, to me, I'm kind of, I don't know if concerned is the right word heading into All Out, but I think we're 6-ish weeks out from All Out, going into 5 now. So it's not like we're pressed for time, but it's not like we have months either. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how everything kind of shakes out. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like this maybe is just obviously a few to just buy time, and then maybe this match would be at Quake at the lake, Quake by the lake, whatever lake. So I think this is just to fill time until then, and then after that we'll obviously set up our match or our story for All Out. But I don't know. I'm just kind of just meh on it at this point, and it sucks because I enjoy Swerve and Keith Lee a lot. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm meh about it as well. I think my question I always ask in my head is, like, would the Young Bucks be doing this? And
and obviously not.
Clearly not.
They dropped the titles, so obviously not.
So, and I meant to mention with the trios titles, I was thinking maybe that's exactly why they dropped the titles, because they're going to win the trios titles. But
yeah, that was another one of my points. Yeah, thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that until now as well. But so, I don't think this is going all the way to All Out. I think they'll, like you said, at Quake at the Lake or whatever it's called, Quake by the Lake, they'll finish this off. But I think, I don't know, here's like quick, better booking they could have done, like just put an eliminator match with Private Party or Butcher and the I don't know, or, the Lucha Bros, somebody just like put a quick eliminator match on, something like that, and win, have the tag team champions win. Or, you know what I mean? Just, like, give them an excuse to wrestle on television with the top-ranked team and just, like, continue to build the division. Like, there doesn't need to be this is the problem with AEW. There's an angle to everything. There's a cake to the face to absolutely every story. You can't just have exhibition matches. And, like, realistically, that's the whole premise of AEW with wins and losses. So just give me a match that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
That's just
Exactly.
a match for a match's sakes, and it's a banger of a match for a banger of a match's sakes. I mean, they have no problem with putting trios tag team matches on just to be bangers of matches. So just give me, you know what I mean? Just give me a good match for a good match's sake and be able to see our champions wrestle or whatever. I think it would have been a lot easier and a better... Like, I would have felt a lot more for Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland after something like that rather than I did. Now I just feel disappointed in where they're at right now. And it devalues the titles. When the champions are where they are right now, like, it just makes the titles mean less.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So, speaking of titles meaning less, sorry, bad transition, but it's true. It's the quarter hour, and you know what that means. AEW Women's World Title match, Thunder Rosa versus, I'm going to mess this up, Mia Yamashita?
Yeah, that was pretty.
Sweet.
That was
I'll
pretty
take it.
close.
All right, I just sounded that one out. These guys had a great match for the most part, a really good battle. And Thunder Rosa ended up getting the win with the Fire Thunder Driver and getting the pinfall. But I don't know. I think you're already fighting an uphill battle when it's somebody that not a lot of people are familiar with. I'm not familiar with. I don't watch a lot of. I don't know if it was Stardom or where exactly she came from, but like I don't watch a lot of Japanese wrestling. Period. Nonetheless, like women's Japanese wrestling, I wish I had the time to do that in my life because I probably would really enjoy it, and I've heard really great things. We should really get into Stardom. But Mia Yamashita was great and had a great showing, but you're already fighting an uphill battle, I feel like, when you don't know one of the competitors. And there's nothing wrong with that, like, because here's an opportunity to find out, like we just said, you watch a Will Ospreay match, you want to watch another one. Like, that's a cool opportunity to have something like that. You watch a Roosh match, you maybe don't want to watch another one, or at least for me, this didn't make me want to go seek out Mia Yamashita. It did make me want to seek out more Stardom and stuff like that, so I'll give them that. That definitely helped. But, yeah, this title reign isn't it for me. This women's division isn't it for me. It's hard for me to invest in any kind of women's division matches, even Britt Baker at this point now. The sandbag line was funny, but other than that, but I'll throw it over to you. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure so I was a little, and I only know this because I was a little uncertain prior to going into it, because like you said, I need to, there's just so much of everything in life, but I need to find time to delve more into like the Japanese wrestling world in and of itself. And I know I feel like I say that all the time, and I have, I make a little progress, but like the women's side of it is like a whole nother like chapter in and of itself, or a whole nother book probably. But so there's like another promotion called like Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. So I know there's Stardom and then that as well. So I'm pretty sure she wrestles for them. And I think that's like affiliated to, I think it's like DDT something wrestling or something to that effect. But I'm pretty certain that's where her and Thunder Rosa had their first like match that was aired on AEW Dark or Dark Elevation or one of those. So I know that match was surprising, just that obviously since she got the surprise victory there, which is, stuff like that is cool, right? Like I'm not against, like a quick upset victory, and I kind of liked how that played out here, and that they addressed it, had the rematch on AEW proper, which is obviously Thunder Rosa's home turf. So I liked that, and the match, obviously it went how it should have. I'm just ready for Thunder Rosa to have something. I'm just ready for her to have some type of story, and obviously you and I are both huge Dr. Britt Baker fans, and I'm biased in a lot of ways, but like it really does feel like if she's not involved in the title picture, like it's just kind of on the, not even the back burner, it's just not even on the stove. So it's like, what are we really doing right now? And I can appreciate, like, okay, we're biding maybe just another week or two until we set up the program for All Out. But it's like, it's not like Jon Moxley isn't sitting here doing something at least somewhat substantial each week, or like your other champions aren't doing something. And I mean, to me, I feel like we see Jade Cargill more than we do Thunder Rosa. And to me, like, if I'm not mistaken, Thunder Rosa's championship is still the superior in the women's division, right? And then it comes the TBS Women's Championship, and then obviously that's it. Unless are they both equal? Like, are we supposed to believe that they're both equal? Like, I don't know if I've missed like a clarification on that. But yeah, that I can obviously go on a whole nother rant on that regard, but yeah, I don't know. To me, and I hope we revisit the Thunder Rosa Toni Storm. I'm still kind of surprised that they didn't pull the trigger with Toni Storm when they had the chance. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of disappointed in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree. I wish they pulled the trigger on that match as well. I think Toni Storm would have. Thunder Rosa just doesn't really do it for me subjectively. But I see that she's over, and I can't. You can't miss that part. So I get that. But she's becoming less and less over because this whole women's division is becoming less and less over as it goes down. And yeah, I think the TBS and the TNT title are not supposed to be considered mid-card titles, even though they are mid-card titles. But you're right. We see more than Jade Cargill than we do Thunder Rosa, and where the heck is Chris Statlander and all these? Who's going to challenge Thunder Rosa at All Out? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's not that.
Oh,
yeah, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry. I meant to add too. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but like, it's not like I don't want to see Jade Cargill on TV because I love Jade. I think she gets the exact amount of TV time she should, and if nothing else, probably she should get a little bit more. But if you're gonna have her on there, then like, how can you not have your other women's champion on there as well? So it's just like, and I just mean that when I throw that out there, just in the sense that it's like, well, what is Thunder Rosa doing? Like, why isn't she doing anything really?
Yeah, and maybe not just cram it all into one little third quarter hour segment. Just put all the women in one little segment. Not that, maybe just an idea. Maybe spread it out throughout the show. Maybe it would help a little more exposure. I don't know.
Spread it out throughout the show.
I know, it's not even on the stove, dude. I love that. Not even on the stove. I forgot to mention, too, we did have a promo from Malachi Black. I never understand them, but this one I kind of understood, so that was good. But talking about the Redeemer, what do you think? Do you think Miro's going to join the House of Black, or do you think he's going to fight against them with Darby Allin and Sting?
Yeah. As much as an awkward trio it is to have Miro with Darby Allin and Sting, and I can't wait to see that visual. I don't see it happening with Miro and as part of the House of Black. I think this is just a distraction, or just Miro playing mind games with the House of Black just to kind of kill some time and just add another layer to it. But I do love, and it seems like a lot of people, like, not you, but like a lot of other like outlets like didn't pick up like the whole like reason like Miro was wearing sunglasses last week, and like the reason why he was torn, like that was like, because that if like the whole point of Miro's like promos, at least on Miro's point, is him being kind of conflicted and asking God, like, why are you putting this like decision in front of him to make him choose between, or are you asking him to choose like to join the House of Black and all this stuff? So to me, like, at least on the Miro side, it's pretty clear like his confusion. But yeah, like you said, it's Malachi Black kind of reminds me of Bray Wyatt and like the early Bray Wyatt days. Just the promo or the segment it's, to me at least, it's intriguing but a lot of times it's like, yeah, like what are we even getting at? Like, what's like the main about? Yeah, like what's the main, like the words you say are really cool. Like, and I love the way you put it together and you look dope, and like I love everything about it. I just don't really know what we're doing, but it's just a weird thing.
He reminds me of that, like, if you've ever been to like a slam poetry thing or just heard someone read poetry, he reminds me of the poet who goes and like just bought a thesaurus for the first time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the words don't, or like, I don't know if you ever saw that episode of Friends where Joey writes the letter to Chandler and Monica's like adoption agency or something, and he finds a thesaurus. So instead of writing like he goes like, sincerely, baby kangaroo. To me, Malachi Black just like, I think he just reads a thesaurus, or like must like read a dictionary in War and Peace in his spare time, and that's where he gets his vocabulary, because I don't understand a word he says. My mother's an English major too. I'd like to think I'm a pretty good Scrabble player. I'd also like to think I have an okay vocabulary. It all goes out the window when I get on this podcast, but I just say cool a lot, and whatever else.
Too.
But yeah, I don't know about that. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I think it's a good layer to the story too. It makes it a little bit better than just this fun trios match, which is going to happen. And I wonder if they're going to save it for the pay-per-view, or maybe they'll do it at the Earthquake by the Lake or whatever it's called. And yeah, now we have our main event. We had Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia, and what an upset. Yeah, there was a little interference from Jake Hager, but this was slow, like really, really slow. But it held my attention the entire time. Like, I was not trying to skip through it. If I skipped through, like, maybe they were on the ground and I knew the 10 count or whatever was coming through, because I didn't have enough time to watch this whole thing. I actually had to watch this separately, so that might have been part of it too. But this held my attention the entire time. The blood, there wasn't a lot of blood. Sorry, Bryan Danielson, you do not enter my best bleeders club. But he was definitely bloodied up, and like, he's playing with us with this concussion stuff, man. Like, he's really messing with their head, and that pile driver looked brutal. And I like that finally a pile driver ends the match. You're getting dropped on your freaking head for sake. Like, you know what I mean? Like, finally it ended a match. And Daniel Garcia got the victory. So what did you think about the main event?
Yeah, so to me, the thing that, and again, I feel like I've been a real downer here, but I loved the match, and when I saw that this was going to be Danielson's return match, I was obviously like stoked for it, because Daniel Garcia is just incredible in the ring. And to me, it's so funny. Like, I would really be intrigued to see how many main events, whether it's been on Dynamite or Rampage, that dude has been in, Daniel Garcia. Because like, I just feel like every time he has a singles match, it's the main event. And like, kudos to him. I'm not even hating on it. It's just like, when I saw that it was going to be the main event, I was like, interesting.
It's like a guaranteed banger.
Yeah, and rightfully so. So I loved the match itself, and I loved the story throughout the match. Again, they just kind of killed it for me, and maybe kill is a little strong. They really just kind of like deflated my balloon. They didn't pop it necessarily. They just untied it and like slowly seeped the air out of it when they did the whole Hager grabbing of the foot thing with Bryan Danielson and chipping him up or whatever, just holding on to him, and then having that lead into the finish. Like, to me, it would have been so much more. And like, and not to say like I called it or whatever, but like, to me, like earlier or kind of like midway through the match, I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, like if they were to have like Garcia get the upset victory here, like I think it would be huge. Like, just kind of just like thinking like out loud to myself, and then seeing the end of the match, like part of me was happy that Garcia got the victory, but I just feel like it kind of would have been, and again, I'm probably nitpicking far too much, but to me, like I don't know, like it would have been a little bit more if he would have done something to really like secure the victory, and especially with it being what was it, like it was a submission victory, right, where Daniel kind of just like passed out.
Oh yeah, you're right.
To me, like with the whole like Hager tripping him up, like that, how did that play into it? Because that, it's not like he like knocked Danielson loopy or anything like that, and then like that's what knocked him out. Like, he just really tripped him up and like held onto his leg for a little bit, and then what's his name, Garcia got him into the submission hole at the very end, and that was the conclusion. So it's like Danielson is still a bad, you know what, technician, so it's like he couldn't have reversed out of it. So to me, like, and again, I know I'm reading way too much into it and probably ruining the fun for a lot of people listening to this, and I'm truly sorry, but that was just what kind of stood out to me. But I say all that after saying, like, I just like you, like, I love the entire match itself. I just would have been more excited if they just really would have let Garcia shined just more and just really given him more of like a solid victory. And again, I say this, and I'll throw it back to you, with full disclosure that I still am not a fan of Jake Hager. I again, am all for people being employed, but I don't see his purpose, man. And it just kind of annoys me far too much than it should when I see him on TV. So the fact that he played into the decision here or last night rather, kind of just soured me probably more than it should have, obviously.
He's your Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
I
don't get it. I don't get it. Like, and I don't know. It's an unhealthy annoyance at this point.
No, I think you make a really good point. I think this would have been a lot more impactful if Daniel Garcia had just gotten the win, period. I think the finish was great in the idea of like the actual, you know, besides the interference, the submission, like passing out from pain, basically. Like, I don't know, like that's something some people I know can identify with, and then the even thought of it is just miserable, like, because he wasn't being choked out or anything like that. He literally passed out from the pain, and that submission looked absolutely awful, like disgusting.
Oh, it did.
So I really liked the finish, but you make a good point where it's like, what did that even do, and was it really necessary? I think it just kind of tainted the victory. I think really you could have had Bryan Danielson, like, really his head be messed up and that be the excuse for the win, and just leave it at that, like, if you need an excuse, quote unquote. But I think, yeah, Daniel Garcia, well, at least, you know, at the very least it's on his belt. Now the win against Bryan Danielson, and they restrained themselves from a post-match beatdown, so I'll give them that, because we had one in every other segment on the show. So
true.
I'll give them that at the very least. But overall, I thought this, I know we were a little negative here and there, I think, but overall, like, just like, I think it's good to hold these shows to, like, a standard because, like, then we get Dynamites like this, or the Dynamite I thought last week was great, too. Like, we get these awesome shows. 2 weeks ago, maybe it was, too, was, like, an all-timer for me. Like, we get these awesome shows because we hold it to such a high standard. Like, I'm not comparing this to Raw kind of thing. Like, this Monday Night Raw puts on a show like this is the greatest show of the decade. You know what I mean? So, but it's important, I think, to nitpick these things because that's what we're here to do. So I don't think you're negative at all. I think there's things that could be better, and it's important to point those things out. And but for the most part, like, you're still being able to enjoy such an awesome wrestling show. So I really like the show overall, and I'm really happy I got to have you on again, Ashley.
Yes, no, thank you as well. It's always a pleasure, always a blast talking to you about Dynamite, and like you said too, like, even if we like single out a few things that we probably would have done differently, or whatever, Dynamite is still the best show of the week. No question about that.
Still
so,
Dynamite.
Yeah. I think it's just we just want them to be the best they can be. You know what I mean? At least that's my take at it.
Like a parent to a child, we just want them to be the best that they can be.
Exactly.
All right, Ashley, I really appreciate it always, and thank you for being flexible, and thank you guys for being patient one day later, but we wanted to get together to be able to do this show. So with all that being said, I will talk to you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mimi. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.